Hey guys, thank you for stopping back by my channel. Derek Stark here. I know it's been a while. Been a real busy semester here at KU. I've been working on a podcast and doing a lot of writing on Quora and schoolwork and work, and investing in relationships and whatnot. So I haven't been creating a lot of videos, but today I'm going to share with you a presentation that I just gave. I had an interview with Kansas Athletics, and they posed a question: what is the biggest obstacle facing student athletes today? And I really wanted to break it down and kind of cut to the core of what I believe to be the biggest issue in not only college athletics, but also our society in general. So to begin, I shared a few quotes from some people that I really respect revolving around the athletic experience. The first quote was actually from a KU donor, and he talked about these unrealistic expectations that coaches have for their players and other administrators and powerful people revolving around intercollegiate athletics, and kind of how this leads to a cognitive dissonance and a lot of turmoil and tension within the minds of student athletes. And this can often lead to disassociation between the athlete and their program and their coach and the university, which can lead to some unfavorable outcomes, right? Some reckless behavior and decision making that would not take place if athletes were supported rather than held to this unrealistic standard. The next person I talked to was a KU student athlete right now. Today, they talked about how difficult it is because they don't have a sense of identity outside of being a student and being an athlete. And these two things, they take up so much time. It's like two full-time jobs and trying to balance relationship on top of that, and time with their family, and maybe making some money on the side, and social life and working out and their spirituality, all these different things that a lot of us take for granted. These student athletes really don't have a lot of time to invest into these areas. And then the last quote I got from a former student, former student athlete, current student, just talked about how all the time that they devote to their sport, if they don't go pro, if they don't go into coaching, they're really set up to fail because their resume essentially says, I was an athlete. They don't have time to invest into internships, jobs, conferences, professional development, and etc. So like I talked about, student athletes have so much on their plate. They've got their sports, they've got their studies, they have social life, spirituality, family, hobbies. Maybe they want to watch a TV show. Maybe there's some books they want to read. They have some hobbies with, doing art or photography, all this different stuff. And it seems that they're really kind of in this identity crisis because they don't know who they are, because they don't have time to invest into all these areas that they might be interested in. The expectations of them are so high that they've come to realize that they're not capable. They can't reach the level that their superiors are asking them to. They don't have time. How am I ever going to get this paper done by Friday when I have practice in the afternoons and workouts in the morning and class after workouts and homework all evening, and I'm trying to eat and sleep, and you know how are they going to find time to practice self-care? They've got all this pressure. We need to win. You got to win. You got to play well. You got to perform. And a lot of times this leads to drug use and reliance on substances and things that obviously get in the way of somebody's well-being. And as I've mentioned, how do you make a resume when you're a student athlete? So ultimately, this huge ordeal, it's a lack of focus on mental health. That's really what I think is the biggest issue with student athletes and the intercollegiate athletic structure. It's a silent epidemic. An American study found that 10 to 15% of student athletes have psychological issues that are severe enough to seek counseling. Despite 1/3 of student athletes reporting feeling depressive symptoms, only 3% have been diagnosed with depression. Additionally, 45% of student athletes say that they've never received any sort of mental health education. And the number 2 leading cause of death among student athletes is suicide. So why is it that we have such a lack of resources when it comes to mental health and student athletes, right? We pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for the top-notch strength and conditioning coaches, tons of money to nutritionists. We've got all these positions to help them succeed in class. They're doing great. They're getting better grades than ever before. But is our mental health better than ever before? The data would suggest not. The data would suggest that it quite possibly is worse than it's ever been. So what do we need to do? We need to take intentional action to educate our student athletes. We need to have them taking pre-participation mental health screenings. We need to promote healthy environments, caring environments, rather than ego-involved climates where we have athletes competing with one another and this win-at-all-costs nonsense. Let's focus on developing strong characters and people who are going to contribute to society for the long term. We need to focus on mental skills training, mindfulness meditation, imagery, visualization, goal setting, mental toughness, breathing techniques, all these things that are going to help athletes become the best versions of themselves and maintain good mental health. And lastly, we need to help identity creation within student athletes, help them to figure out who they are without their sport, without being a student. And this is going to take much more than just words. It's going to take action, but it's all an effort to reduce the stigma of mental health. Tell people it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to talk to somebody. Let's educate. Let's prevent mental health issues for the foreseeable future. Let's prioritize mental health. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate your time, appreciate your ears, and hope this hit home. Hope you appreciate this. We'll see you. Bye-bye.